So I got a message on social media letting me know that there was some debris here at Admiralty Park Beach. So I stood up an event on Facebook, invited a bunch of friends to meet me here after work, and we dove for debris. I mean, the ocean connects us all. To me, it's one big blue ocean. Ultimately, if I throw a piece of trash or a piece of trash ends up in the ocean, it could float anywhere. And in fact, most of the debris that washes up in Bermuda is long-range foreign trash that has come from anywhere as far as West Africa or even Japan. Everything just swirls around and ends up on our shores. So we're all connected, whether we recognize it or not. Documenting all the work that we do is very, very important. And taking photographs and shooting video and even going live during these exercises is such a phenomenal thing because it opens up to the world the effort that we're doing. And in fact, most of the time we catalog the debris that we catch and put that into an online database. And just TBI facilitates all of that, whether it's going live on site, taking photographs and creating an album on Facebook, or posting all of our photographs to Instagram. It's just valuable, and having the internet opens up what we're doing to the world. My name is Weldon Wade. I'm a diver, educator, and advocate for ocean sustainability. Love that intro. It speaks to exactly what we're about to talk about this week on the 6th episode of the Wade in the Water live show. Now, I got some new equipment here. I got a little fancy. You see magic. I picked up some kit. I got a couple special guests backstage. Jessica is back. I got my brother Magic backstage as well. I'm about to bring everybody on deck, but I just want to make sure the audio is good. Magic, audio is all right? I got the AC on, right? And I know you're supposed to cut all that out to get rid of that hum, but I got OBS running in the background. OBS lets me do so TBR is just an overlay. You know, StreamYard does this thing, but you need some little tools to kind of get fancy. So I saw the levels in OBS were good. So, so let's run it. Jess, how you making out? Wonderful, wonderful. Shout out to Tele Bermuda International for the flawless bandwidth as usual. And yeah, episode 6. Hello, and welcome to the Wade in the Water live show. Notice I took out late because we're making some changes. But nevertheless, this is episode 6. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you are well. I'm your host, Weldon Wade. I'm a diver, educator, and advocate for ocean sustainability. I'm also a proud PADI ambassador diver, and it's been my job for the last 10 plus years to get you diving and keep you diving. This show is to help you keep you informed, aware, and educated on what's going on here on the island, across the region, and the world, to bring like-minded people together and share experiences and inspire future generations to get involved. And, if you've been around for a little while and the ocean is something that you're kind of been thinking about getting into, then that's what this is all about. Tonight's topic is going to be all about diving against debris and Aware Week. So what we found is typically every September, BC, right before COVID, there was a big push to dive for trash, whether that was with the Ocean Conservancy or Project Aware. It's been a push around this time of year to get divers in the water to dive for trash. Now, we recognize that, not all the trash that enters the ocean floats. And if it does, it'll accumulate biomass, it'll photodegrade or biodegrade and break down into smaller pieces or just get heavy and sink to the bottom. So a lot of trash is on the bottom of the ocean, and you need divers, we need divers to dive for debris and get that stuff off the bottom of the ocean and have it disposed of properly. So you know how this has been going? The initial goal was to run this show live every Wednesday night on Facebook and YouTube with replay available right away and past episodes available at your fingertips. You know how we do this. Strap in and hold on tight. And remember, the quickest way to get to this show, whether you're watching live or you want to check out the replays, is on live.weldonwade.com. Changes to the show, which I've already mentioned, taking out the late. I'm going to start to do these a little bit earlier in the day and increasing the frequency of the show, going outside and on location. I know you guys, we talk about the ocean and how amazing it is and how beautiful our beaches are and what it's like outside. And I decided to host a show 10 o'clock at night from my house. It's like, let's get outside. Let's take this stuff, I know Magic DJ is outside on the beach and stuff. So, I'm sure that this equipment will last well with the salty air. When it comes to YouTube or any of these shows, anything that you consume as viewers, and I do appreciate your viewership, but please share, like, follow, comment, subscribe, dislike, all the engagement matters. It all helps the show grow. I mean, dislike kind of hurt my feelings, but if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. If you'd like to jump on as a guest at any time, impromptu, sponsor support, or whatever, send the note to hello@weldonwade.com. Once again, episode 6, I'm broadcasting live from my home right here in Bermuda, where I was born and raised. And without her, we're enjoying the last 2 weeks or so of summer 2021. But right now we're dealing with Hurricane Larry, which is just a good thing, is just to our east. So the winds are going to pick up, I think, gusts of maximum 45, 50 knots. So it's not going to be that bad for those of you that have been through, like, Emily, Fabian, Humberto, Gonzalo, Faye. This is really nothing. And we're very blessed to have the storm just going to our east, but it's causing some serious swell on the South Shore already. So before I bring my special guests forward, I was advised not to have this whole show like talking heads. So okay, cool. I don't take that as disrespect. This is for you. I do what I can. So what I did put up is a very short clip of a snorkel outing I did just recently with some friends, Forrest, Ingrid, and Alyssa, and we found just off the shore a really cool little critter. Let's cue this up. Okay, we're gonna turn it like this. To get that extra wide field of view. It's really, really cool, the dome. You do have to lick the dome. For those folks out there that have domes, what you don't want to do is when you're trying to get those over-unders is have the droplets on the dome. So you either use some type of solution or you kind of just hide, so nobody can kind of see you, and you just kind of lick the dome, just like how you'd spit in your mask. Same kind of thing. Spit in your mask, rub it around. That film causes the fog not to build up. Well, when you see photographers kind of like, I need to go, down into the canopy real quick. Yeah, they're probably going down there with their rig to lick the dome so that you don't get the droplets. So for those of you with domes, you know what I'm talking about. The secret's out. That's what this show is all about. And that's what's up. So we're talking about diving for debris. I got Jess and Magic on the live. I love this live stuff. I think like it's easy to sort of, not easy because I don't do that either, but like shoot a bunch of dope content, edit it and post it. That's cool. I need to do more of that. But I just think live is just more just organic. It's raw. It's real. And this is what's up. I switched up my attire. I told Jess, I'm like, I'm not dressing up. Like I tried this smooth operator thing for the last few weeks. I was like, look, I just want to come casual, be myself, as if I'm kind of just finishing a dive or go into a dive. So I got my Bermuda Ocean Prosperity shirt on. Shout out to my Bob team. We're doing some great work out here. And without further ado, I'd love to introduce to you guys, Jess is back and Magic is on the live. How are you guys making out?
Doing good. Happy to be here.
Let me switch up the view. There we go. Had to switch up the view. So I'd love for you guys to introduce yourself. But before I do, if you're tuning into episode 6 for the first time, Jessica's been around since episode 1. And Magic, I've known Magic for years. Just like JD, we know of each other, but we don't really get in the water as much as I think we'd love to. But it is what it is. Mr. Magic Boyles, very avid diver. I love Magic because he's one of the few divers I know that's got all the kit matches, or your color coordination going out there.
Yep, that's me.
Great. So Jess, please reintroduce yourself to our viewership, and then Magic, you can introduce yourself, and then we can get on topic.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. It's Jess with Diving with Jess. I am a scuba instructor. I'm a PADI scuba instructor, and I focus on eco-focus, dive training, and travel. So my background is in marine biology, and I got into dive instruction after going the scientific diver route, and I'm in it for life. I'm here for the long haul. So
Love that. It's a marathon out here. Thank you so much, Jess, for joining us again. I missed you last week, but I had to get some deep stories off my chest. And yeah, welcome back. Magic.
Hey, good night, everyone. My name is Magic Boyles. Been diving since 2014. I'm currently up to the Patty Rescue Diver level. And yeah, like we often said, knew him for quite some time. Haven't seen him in way too long, and we need to get together real soon and get back in the water.
I
Happy
know,
to
I
be here
know.
tonight, man.
Yeah, man. It's a privilege and an honor. And Magic and I have so many similarities. But I'd love to cue up the viewership just to let them know that we met salsa dancing, this past
Yes.
life that I keep kind of queuing up. And I know Jess is keen to see some footage of me doing something. I think it's best just to grab a partner and shoot something new because yeah, it's been a while since my living in Toronto days and burning up Dover Courthouse and Canada Salsa Congress, New York Salsa Congress. Totally off topic, but I want everyone to recognize that we do go way back. But diving is what brings us together tonight, and certainly what I just want to share. It's been a thought of mine since we made this as a topic, and it always like this time of year, it's always interesting. I was wondering, like, what did divers do before there were invasive species to cull and trash to pick up? Like, we were talking with JD and Jess just recently about having like purpose, and right now today, divers definitely have things that we can do to help protect the ocean, and there's certainly a long list of things, not even actually culling invasive species or picking up debris, but even doing the science stuff that Jess is really keen on, and even citizen science, where we're looking for different diseases like black band disease, white band disease, bleaching, and just logging all of that and getting it reported. Um, Magic, I'd love to start with you, bro, because I mentioned just before we got on the live that it'll be great to share your experience with diving for debris off Harrington Sound. I remember a few years ago you hosted a dive there, and certainly right on the sound, right off the dock. If you know the area, you guys, it's easy for trash to end up in the sound from vehicles, passersby, or whatnot, boats, whatever. So yeah, tell us about that experience.
Yes, that was a really good experience. I think it was in 2018, I believe. But yeah, it was with BSAC, Bermuda Sub Aqua Club, and it was part of my dive leader training course that I unfortunately didn't get to finish. I need to go back to you guys and finish that one off. But yeah, I scrambled a team of divers. It was about maybe 12 of us that got into the water that day and picked up a whole bunch of debris, things that anything you could think of, it was down there. We saw these huge, like, looked like a tractor tire was down there. We saw a couple bikes, a laptop, even several different bottles. We cleaned up quite a bit that day, thankfully, and unfortunately, it was still some more down there. We had to visit it again sometime, but yeah, it was still some more debris down there. It just goes to show just how much trash can accumulate in one spot at times. But it was a very productive day for everyone there.
Yeah, without question, it's wonderful to bring divers together to dive with a purpose. And
Mhm.
debris, whatever doesn't belong in the ocean definitely should come out of the ocean. And what I've hinted on a couple of times is, trash needs to be disposed of correctly. In Bermuda, for the benefit of our viewership that aren't on the island, we do have a waste to energy program by way of incineration, and we only recycle tin, aluminum, and glass. So we just sort out all the debris. Sometimes we would weigh it, and we would send to recycling what we can, and then send to the incinerator or the landfill what we can't. And so, with that little extra little nugget of information, Jess, I'd love to get a couple of stories from you on different things you've done, perhaps in the past, or things you have planned for the future, and then how you guys manage your waste. And I know waste management, we can talk about that at length, because we do have a landfill, we've got our incinerator, and we just recycle tag, essentially tin, aluminum, and glass. So how are things in Texas? And is there a lot of litter in the ocean, or can you dive once a year and everything's clean, or can you go like daily and always find something new?
So So for here, it's a little bit different. A lot of the dives that I've done for trash pickup have been freshwater, actually, not in the ocean. So when you're out, you will see some like line and debris and that type of thing when you're out in the ocean, especially or if it's after a storm. But for here, a lot of our trash in waterways comes from human interaction. In Texas. River rafting is really popular. So tubing down the river, bringing your friends, you have your cooler. And so in different rivers here, like the Comal and the Guadalupe, we get a lot of tourism trash. So there's obviously like the normal runoff trash from just like normal everyday, but then we have a lot of problems with, at least in the past, with beer cans, sunglasses, cell phones, shoes, tires. Like you were saying, Magic. We found tires, old pieces of vehicles, a wheelbarrow. I don't know if that's a Texas thing or we found a wheelbarrow. But yeah, whenever I was in college, we used to do something called Trash Bash up in the Comal River, and it was really fun. We'd bring out a whole bunch of divers from A&M, and there'd be divers from all over Texas and even outside of Texas, and we'd all come together and start cleaning up. And they actually started it ended a few years back. I don't know if they've started back up again, but they actually started paying, the city actually started paying to keep that river clean. So when we came back one year, there was almost no trash in the river, which was actually really refreshing to see. It gave us less to do, but they were really keeping a good hold on keeping that trash under control by having having people actually go out on a regular basis and cleaning it versus an event once a year. But then, yeah, our lakes and stuff like that we teach in, I don't run into too much trash in them, luckily, but they are so heavily used by all of the dive instructors in Texas that there's always people there and there's always people picking up trash. So I think that really helps as far as keeping our local dive lakes pretty clean. There's not a whole lot to pick up there, which is good. But then, yeah, whenever you're out diving, like on the flower gardens, I know when you were out there, Weldon, you don't really see much trash. You'll see some line, and every once in a while you'll see it, but they're so far offshore. Every once in a while you'll get some boat trash or something that's washed through. We were pretty fortunate that we don't see too much pollution out there as far as trash goes.
Okay, that's kind of good to know, because I know I spent some time at the Bermuda Sub Aqua Club here in Bermuda for a number of years, and the house reef of the old clubhouse is essentially Admiralty House Park. And Magic, I'm sure you did at least some confined water training there. You've probably been there recently, maybe not. It's not a real scuba specific spot. Like you could actually snorkel. It's not very deep, but very, very. It can get quite busy with a lot of locals on the Clarence Cove, and then fishermen on the rocks fishing, obviously for fish. So you'd find monofilament and beer bottles and all kinds of things. And Jess occasionally will have some locals that will joyride scooters off the cliff that's sort of there for cliff jumping. And then my Magic and I would be going along the cliff there with whichever discipline works best. We find scooters and different things, and groups over in the past have gone down with lift bags and recovered a bunch of scooters, and there's pictures of all of that stuff. It's pretty wild. But Magic, with your experience as a diver and diving for debris, probably on scuba, what's been like the most interesting thing you found while diving, recovering different things?
I'm really glad you asked that, actually. And this was actually on my very second. I've been on 3 different diving for debris events, and it was on my second one. It was one that you hosted, actually. This was, and I'm sure you're going to remember this very well. It was off of the Bermuda Grotto Bay location. We was off the dock there.
Yes. Okay. I know where we're going with this.
Remember, somebody picked up a bunch of wine bottles that were underwater.
I do.
And then, and this would never happen now during COVID times. So somebody managed to pop one of those bottles open, and a few of us passed it around to have a little sip of it. And I was one of the people that took a sip, and it actually wasn't that bad for wine that's been sitting under salt water for I don't know how long.
Yeah,
it had a bit of a salty flavor, but it was all right.
She was crusty. Yeah, I remember that thing well.
Afterwards, but yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the salt content or the fermentation or who knows, but but yeah, I do remember that dive right off Grotto Bay, near the airport here, and David, one of the old one of the club members from, I guess it was Dive Bermuda Grotto Bay at that time, right? Was it
Yes.
that long ago? Yeah, we did a dive right off the dock of the resort and recovered, like, there was a little crane that was there, and then I remember David found the wine, and we cracked it open and passed it around. That was pretty wild. Um, any do you have any memory of any like debris recovery where you've found any entangled creatures, whether they be dead or alive or anything like that, or anything stands out when it comes to sea life? Because that's one of the reasons why we sort of do this work, is not just to keep the bottom of the ocean clean, but at least what motivates many is to stop entanglement of monofilament or trash, taking the life of things that belong in the ocean. Have you found anything weird, or come to the, at the last minute, like a ocean hero, and rescue like a seahorse in distress?
Thankfully, I haven't seen any underwater life that has been in any danger of entanglement, but I have seen objects underwater that will cause that, such as fishing line, hooks and sinkers that were left behind from, I guess, somebody that might have got caught in the rocks and wasn't able to recover their equipment before leaving. But yeah, thankfully I haven't been able to see that scene. But of course, I would have helped step in and help whatever I can. Hopefully not
Yeah,
cause any
yeah,
damage to the marine life.
yeah, for sure. Jess, I'd love to bounce that off of you as well. Have you any stories that sort of tie into marine life, even if it's coral? Because I've got one or two stories that speak to that. So I'm just wondering if you've got something on the topic to share
Yeah.
with our viewership.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I do. So I was saying that, our dive lakes and, again, our reefs are so far offshore here, that they're not affected as much by pollution, but our beaches are not immune, and our boat basins and that sort of stuff. So we get a lot of trash there. They're not really dive friendly places. But one year when we were doing a beach cleanup, we did find a turtle on the beach that had gotten entangled and had died and had washed up. And I don't know if everyone is familiar, but Texas is a really important nesting ground for different sea turtles, including the endangered Kemp's Ridley. And so I can't remember, it was a couple years back, so I don't remember what species of sea turtle it was. And it was in pretty bad shape by the time we found it. It was not very recognizable. And so it's one of those, you don't see it happen because didn't happen, it happened in the water. We weren't in the water, but when we were doing the beach cleanup on the shoreline, when you come across it, and it's mostly unrecognizable because it's been there, and birds and fish, but it's something that stays with you, and it's a really important reminder that our trash can have a really big effect. It's not a fun thing to come across, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of the elephant in the room is really, like, and as divers, we see firsthand the effects of harm that may come to this underwater environment, whether it is pollution, trash, again, invasives, which we'll talk about another week. But certainly for me, and I'll go back to Admiralty House Park, because it's just shallow, it's super accessible. I live like 3 minutes away from there, and you guys mentioned it already, like just the fishing line. Shout out to all of our recreational fishermen that do hook and line fishing from the rocks. It's just unfortunate that more often than not, as we're snorkeling or free diving or scuba diving along those cliffs, you will find the monofilament line still strung up, whether or not the hook got tangled in the rocks and they just jettisoned the whole wad of monofilament line. I've been diving where the monofilament gets entangled in the scuba equipment, so you got to carry your knife and be able to cut all that loose, because in a situation where you're in deeper water, or maybe any depth of water, you'll find monofilament, just you can't see it, right? It's clear. You get tangled up in it, and that's us getting tangled. So I can't imagine a turtle or bird or fish. But I do have one memory of just coming across a couple of abandoned lobster pots. And it's September now, so Bermuda lobster season is in full effect from September through March. And but outside of the season, I found not an abandoned lobster pot, but they do break loose, and especially now with the weather magic, any pots along South Shore. If the fishermen weren't able to recover them before the storm, and hopefully they did, they'll like just get swirled around. The buoy will break off the rope, and they'll end up lodged up under some reef. But I came across an abandoned one, or a lost one, and it was a bunch of fish stuck up inside of it, and it was a wonderful opportunity because I was able to open the door and free these fish that had gotten all stuck, and the pot was wedged up in the reef, and we had to drag it out and fan the sand to get it out. Once we got it out, there was all this fish, and there was a small guinea chicken there that couldn't get out of the escape hatch. They got little escape hatches so that the undersized critters can get out, but all that was blocked off from debris and all the sand and stuff. So that was pretty wild. I queued in about like rescuing a seahorse because I've only found maybe 2 seahorses doing these type of debris cleanups, and one of them was off Cooper's Island. I was just picking up some like rubber, like a tire or something like that, and I looked, and it was this yellow seahorse just kind of like trying to get away. It was pretty crazy. Because then when I go looking for seahorses, just like when I go looking for sea hares, like I can't find them. And then the day I'm kind of just picking up trash with my gloves and stuff. It was quite a find. But Magic, do you find like divers that you're around, and I know sometimes we get into these in phases, life happens and things take priority, and we might not do it every day like we used to. Certainly, I think back to 8-9 years ago, diving every weekend, and now it's sort of like but are as a diver, like is diving for debris something you're keen to do, and you find that your circle of diver friends, whether it was now or in the past, are keen to grab their onion sacks and their gloves and dive for trash? Or do you find divers would really not pick up trash and do more just sightseeing, looking around? So in other words, queuing back to like diving with a purpose, how do you gauge that? Do you find it to be something cool, or do you find it I'd rather just sightsee? And this is just a generalization amongst you and your diving peers.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely something that we find to be really important because as you've mentioned in previous episodes, the ocean in Bermuda is our backyard. So, we gotta try and keep our backyard clean. Like, we have a very precious thing that we have here that we really want to take care of, and basically ridding it of any debris that we see along the way, both on land, on the beach, in the water. Like, any chance we get rid of it, take care of it, and dispose of it properly. Because this ocean, man, we only got one, and although it's so big, the little things can cause big problems if it continues to build up.
100%.
So,
I think like most big things started off as little things that were manageable, and when you let something fester long enough, it can spiral out of control. Jess, as an instructor extraordinaire, ocean hero, legend over there, like how do you inspire divers to want to use their investment of time and money and attention to say, okay, cool, you're certified, you've got your own kit. How do you motivate them to now grab? And I got one. It's an old one. And I don't dive with this that much. I use regular potato sacks, but I got my Dive Against Debris branded little sack here. It's got a little clippy clip. I'd save this for special occasions. But onion sacks and potato sacks work really well. So as a sidebar, if you are keen to get in the water and remove debris that's on the bottom, whether you're in 12 inches of water or 12 feet of water, an onion sack or potato sack or a mesh bag works out way better than trying to use a plastic garbage bag. And it's something, because I was that guy one time where I'm, got the plastic bag and I'm like, this is impossible. And then I saw the onion sack and I'm like, brilliant. And I don't know her name, but it's a wonderful lady who used to work at, was it Lemon Tree? I'm going back a little bit, but she was a chef at one of the restaurants, and I told her what I was doing. I had seen her with some potatoes, and I said, yeah, we can really use those onion sacks for all these Dive Against Debris events that I host. And bless her heart, she would drop off about 30 bags every week to BUEI for me. And it was nuts. Like, I remember getting a call from the CEO of the day, and they're like, hey, you got to go by the Ocean's gift shop. There are like 200 onion sacks that we have in the back for you to use. This lovely lady keeps dropping them off every week. So my garage now, Magic, is full of onion sacks. So to our viewership, if you're in Bermuda, you need onion sacks, please hit me up. I'll give you a dozen of them, and hit any of the hardware stores or even the garden market and Arnold's and Belvin's and get some just $4 gardening gloves with the little black grippy dots. Not latex gloves because then they'll fill up and balloon on your hands. We're talking about in water debris collection. Get those just fabric. I was prepared. Look at that.
Hey.
Basic gardening glove, and this is great because what I tell people all the time when we're doing any kind of excursion, I say, well, in Bermuda you've really got three things to worry about: sharp rocks, broken glass, and Portuguese man of war. So certainly when you're picking up trash, you want to put on a little bit of protection to keep your hands good. And these are $4 for a pair. They're reusable. They work really, really well. And then grab your onion sack, or in this case, mesh bag, and put all your debris in, and then you're able to sort it out. But real quick, what's the waste management situation like in Texas? I mentioned, Jess, that we only recycle certain things and then we burn everything else. I didn't get into that when I was in Texas. It was brief, and I just remember all the oil refineries. So
I'm glad we didn't show you our landfills. I don't think that's really like a highlight.
well, I've seen some things here that I wouldn't really take you to either. So
Yeah, so we have traditional landfills. Obviously, here in Texas, we have a lot of land, so we have the capability to hold on to the waste and put it into landfills here. We also have recycling programs, so
Okay.
Not all cities do, and not all areas in all cities do. So I feel like depending on like apartment complexes, a lot of times they don't have recycle pickup, but a lot of neighborhoods in the area will, and a lot of the schools will. A lot of like the public, whether it's like City Hall or libraries, that type of thing, a lot of times they will be part of the city's recycle pickup. And so, and here we can recycle plastic. So you were talking about aluminum, tin, glass. So we also recycle plastics 1 through 7, except for 6 for most areas. So
Right.
the local area, but for us, it's usually the kind of rule of thumb is that 1 through 7, except for 6. And I think
Okay.
a lot of people will forget that. A lot of those are those like real hard, brittle plastics. A lot of times those aren't really reusable.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure why I don't have background in like recycled chemistry, but yeah, so we can do pretty much all of that. And then some areas that are more rural, sometimes if you live outside of a city limit where you're not hooked up to like the city's water, like you're on well, and you're not on the city sewer or in part of the trash, then they'll do what you talked about, Weldon, where you have like a burn pile, that type of thing. So it kind of depends on what area you're in, if you're in the city or if you're out in the country. So yeah.
Nice. Well, it's a lot out there to do, and it is our blue backyard. And I figure, Magic, if we're chilling out having a Latin dancing little set, and a piece of debris, blows off the beach and ends up in the ocean, it could end up in Texas. It'll kind of go maybe that way and then go down and then get caught in the Gulf Stream and go into the Gulf and end up, at Jess. Or maybe gotta do like a message in a bottle thing and a little note to Jess and see if it will. I don't know if it'll end up over there, but I don't want to overlook my good friend Norman is on live, and he's put a question up that I was a little bit hesitant to put up because it's on topic. It's something in the ocean that doesn't belong there, that the three of us certainly work hard to keep in check, but I will put it up anyway. So Norman says, I'm curious to know about the lionfish pandemic, how it's shaping out here in Bermuda, and the possible carp fish concerns in Texas, invasive fish populations and the like. Norm, bro, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what size screen you're watching us on tonight, because I remember last time you said you had us queued up on the Roku or something, like full screen with the family. Shout out to your beautiful wife and daughter. Lionfish is going to be a show all in of itself soon. I'm saving that for a bit of a bigger production, if you will. But I'm happy to say that the eat 'em to beat 'em push is continuing. We still have lionfish in our waters. As far as I recognize, it's going to be a forever problem. And there is a committed carter or divers that are getting getting in the water year round to keep their numbers in check. There's derbies and tournaments and all kinds of different things going on here. But Jess, what's going on in Texas? And Norman mentioned carp. I don't know what that is. What's going on in Texas with the lionfish and maybe this carp fish?
So as far as like the carp go, it's been a problem across the U.S. and I can't remember what all states that they've hit, but it started off with just one or two. But there, when you see those videos of the fishermen going through the water and the fish are just like flying up all over the place and like smacking the different the fishermen, that's the situation that we're talking about. I not the biggest freshwater expert. So as far as
Yes,
as far
freshwater.
You got to watch out for that freshwater. No, the it's not anywhere near where I live. Obviously, Texas is a very large state, very, very large state, but it hasn't affected any of our lakes. The last I heard, I didn't know if it was in any of the other, like further away, further northwest. But I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been up to date on that. I remember when we first started reading about it a couple years back, but I'm not. I don't know, but it's not in my area, luckily.
Hey, I didn't even know what a carp was, Norman, until this came up. No, hold on. What did I push? What did I push? What did I push? Hold on, you guys. The tech guy had some difficulties. I was looking up carp. Jessica's telling us about her story. You guys have been looking at me.
Yeah.
Well, we're building it while we fly out here. Apologies for that. I looked up carp. I heard the name, but if you showed me a carp, I wouldn't have any idea what it looked like. I do know, like, the zebra mussels in Lake Champlain, freshwater lake up in New England, was like everything was covered in zebra mussels. But real quick, Jess, in terms of controlling the invasive lionfish population, got a couple tidbits you can share with Norman.
Yeah, so here in Texas, it's a fun thing to do, and it is something that a lot of our local divers are interested in, which is really exciting. So we will see quite a few lionfish out at our oil rigs. So those are a little bit closer to shore than the flower garden banks, which are a decent ways offshore. So you can go out and you have to have your fishing license here in Texas to be able, even though they're invasive, you still need to make sure that you have your fishing license, and then you can go out and make sure that the charter you're going out with is cool with you bringing your pole spear on, but you can go out and hunt some lionfish and bring it back and make some fish tacos or have a fish fry. Those are really popular here in Texas. I don't know if you guys are big into fish fries in Bermuda, but we have fish fries out here, and then we also, you can even make ceviche out of it. I have a friend who loves to do that. So, but yeah, it's really great. It's a great way to add that extra little, like you were talking about before, diving with purpose. So going out and diving at the oil rigs or out at the flower gardens is fantastic. You can't hunt lionfish out at the flower gardens except for the 2 times a year for the Lionfish Invitational, which Weldon and I talked about back in the very first episode. And
we need to come back to that
more later. But so you cannot go out on the Flower Garden Banks National Marine Sanctuary is protected, and they do not allow any sort of spearing out there. But the oil rigs are fair game. And so it's and they like to aggregate around there. So you'll have some pretty good chances to bring home some good lionfish if you go out.
We do love our fish fries and our ceviche. Delvin Bean has been I haven't had it, but I know whenever Blue Water has their lionfish tournaments, what comes out of there afterwards, the stories that come after has always been Delvin's ceviche, who now he owns Lit, Austin the Triangle restaurant, that have moved up to the Old Swizzle Inn here in Bermuda, Jess. So when you come, we got to take you to Lit with some lionfish and just see if Delvin's around and he can whip up his lionfish ceviche, which, like, people tell stories about it. Like, so I feel like I'm missing out. But certainly magic. I mean, one thing I do recognize is most of our viewership aren't divers. They just tend to be, people locked in that are keen to learn about, why we do what we do, how we do it, where we do it. And so I just think, like, in terms of giving advice to the viewership that may not necessarily scuba, but may, are they cool to maybe go to the beach, cool to maybe put on mask snorkeling fins? What would you say to that group of people that are like, yeah, I don't really know if I want to get into the trash picking up side of things? Because a lot of people are just hesitant to get into it, or even just come into regular beach cleanups that happen quite often, whether it's with Keep Bermuda Beautiful or anything that anyone happens to host. We want to get people up off their couches, out of their homes, COVID safe, to these events. So why should the average Joe even care about this kind of stuff?
Man, so besides picking up trash within the ocean, plenty of other things you can do out there. Bermuda, we are well known for our number of shipwrecks, number of discovered shipwrecks around the island. I believe we're called the shipwreck capital of the world. That's definitely something interesting to see. The beautiful coral life that we have around Bermuda, also continue to dive for purpose, getting in and hunting those invasive lionfish species, try and keep our numbers intact so we can help to keep our reef looking good so these lionfish don't really make it go out of control. But plenty of different things to do besides just picking up trash.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I think definitely in hosting, especially like the beach cleanups, they get more people come out. A lot of times, the conversation comes up about locals or residents being responsible for the majority of debris that is in the ocean, what's floating and that washes up and what sinks. What I've found magic is, and this is where the data side comes in, most of the debris that I pick up is actually foreign trash. And it's been pretty eye-opening because I'd find bottles with non-English writing on it, or a lot of it is from industrialized fishing. It's not a local commercial fishers. We're talking like glow sticks and those big fish containers and that kind of thing. So speaking strictly to the trash, what are your thoughts about that? Where people are, there was a comment recently where this lady's like, appreciate you guys having this cleanup, but we really need to just increase the fines and fine people. And she started to lean into the enforcement piece. And I said to her, well, if 80% of the trash I pick up is foreign trash, we have no resident to fine, So it's really about going to the source and figuring out, okay, well, where is this stuff coming from? So what I mentioned in the last couple of minutes, just bringing this particular thing to the forefront, is the industrialized fishing, and then the long range trash that gets caught in the gyres and swirls around and ends up on our shores. Whether you're walking the beach on the shoreline with your family or diving for debris, what are your thoughts about that long range foreign trash versus local trash? And what do you find? Not doing a scientific analysis of it, but what do you think about that? Local versus foreign.
I think when it comes to that, one quote comes to mind. It's the quote that goes, "It takes a village." Basically, we all need to work together to try and combat this problem, because while we may be playing our part here in Bermuda to do as much as we can, as you said, foreign trash can come in from anywhere in the world, from all over the place. So, it takes also efforts from those outside of our shores to jump in and do their part as well, so we can try and get this thing under control, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a tough tap to turn off. We're in the Sargasso Sea, North Atlantic, in this gyre essentially. So Jess, just in that sort of analysis, is what you find just is localized, or does foreign debris, or Texas, does any trash, you get any trash, from your neighbors to the south washing up? Like, what does your debris look like?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So there's a lot of at our beach cleanups, there'll be the beachgoer litter, the traditional like chairs, toys, cigarette butts, beer cans, that type of thing. So obviously land-based trash. But then we do see a lot of both recreational fishing type trash, but then we see that big, like you were talking about, the big commercial type trash. But then we also see foreign trash, and some of it might actually be traveling that far, but also you have to think that Texas is a huge port whenever it comes to international shipping. Houston is one of the largest ports in the U.S. whenever it comes to industrial shipping. So whenever it comes to regulating what people are or aren't dumping off of their boats, because, obviously throwing trash into the ocean off of your vessel, depending on what country you're coming from and where you're going, it might be more convenient to just dump it over the side of your vessel versus disposing of it properly and keeping it on board until you can take it somewhere and dispose of it properly. So sometimes what we see is trash that seems to be from a vessel, but not necessarily as far as like fishing trash. It is boat trash. So we get that wash up too. And so that's another thing to think about and talk about is a lot of the trash, you'll see after storms and stuff like that, we will have it both wash up from things that have happened that hit like the coastal communities and then wash back up. But we also have it if there's ever flooding up north, it'll come down our rivers. And by me, we have the Brazos River and it goes all the way up Texas and it's a very large river. And so if there was bad flooding up river, a lot of that is going to get pushed down into our area and then get it stopped in our estuaries or get pushed out into the ocean. So you have to think about that too. So, after a big storm, you might see parts of houses and vehicles and, just crazy, big, huge trees, that type of thing. And so it kind of hits us from all sides. It's from the land, it's from the ocean, it's from storms, it's from everyday littering. And we do have fines in Texas. We have a whole statewide program of "Don't Mess with Texas." We've had that slogan for years with the bumper stickers, and that is geared towards trash and littering. And so just trying to make sure, and I think a lot of people do a pretty good job. But yeah, there's only so much you can do if people are dumping trash off the side of boats and that type of thing. So,
Jess, thank you so much for all of that. I mean, you hit so many awesome topics, so many awesome points. I mean, one thing that stands out in my mind in terms of like boat trash, we have a big annual event every year in a bay called Mangrove Bay, and a little video went viral a few years ago of a guy like emptying his bag of trash over the side of his boat, and like there was so much of a public outcry that him and his buddies had to get together the day or so after and swim for the trash and try to pick up as much of it as they could. So yeah, it's and storms, right? I mean, in terms of like hurricanes and flooding and all that stuff, certainly we've got some commonalities, but it's interesting to always think about, rivers and storms and the port and the ships and all that stuff. Plus you're in the Gulf. So here we've got Hurricane Larry to our southeast now. That's going to cause a lot of storm surge, swell, stirring up stuff. Like it's already taking sand away from the reef. But if anyone's got one of those floating docks with the styrofoam inside and that gets bashed up against the rocks, what we'll find is just a snow of styrofoam, magic in some of our beaches and bays and stuff that's just impossible to clean up. And then we have Bermuda slate roofs, but then there's a company here that mimic that with a styrofoam compound. And if something happens and someone loses their roof and it's made from that material and that blows into the ocean, you've got, again, this snowy styrofoam stuff floating around that's almost impossible to collect it all, which is pretty wild. But Norman has another question for us. Thank you so much for your viewership, Norman. I really, really appreciate it. Debris and tourism. Norman asked, how extreme is the debris concern within our local waters and Texas's ocean-facing shores as it relates to the effect on tourism? Well, someone asked me about voluntourism lately in terms of incentivizing tourists to get involved with different local efforts. So Magic, I mean, I get asked all the time, can people come to Bermuda to cull lionfish? And now there is a path. Yeah. But then getting tourists or visitors to our shores like involved in community-based voluntourism and cleaning up and picking up debris. There is a push for that. Keep Bermuda Beautiful tend to be the sort of place to go to have your events listed And what happens is the executive director, Katie, she's awesome. She'll help just aggregate all the efforts so that there's no overlap. And then she helps to funnel volunteers around. So if anyone decides to host a local event here, at least let Keep Bermuda Beautiful know. And then they can provide supplies to you and that kind of thing. And then with tourists, and even like before COVID, when we get cruise ships, their crew would want to do something positive for Bermuda too, and they reach out to KBB, and KBB will deploy and set up all the hosting bits and pieces. But we all know that unfortunately we can't walk any of our award-winning beaches or explore any of our super popular bays without finding trash of some kind, of some degree. Certainly when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, tar was the most common thing we'd see. Like there was no plastic. And I want to lean into single-use plastic. Plastic is pervasive no matter how many times it's used. But, there wasn't single-use plastic. There wasn't like all this stuff floating around, especially the microplastics. So, I mean, in my work with Airbnb experiences and taking visitors out to explore, and even if I take them off the path and go to different catchments where debris is super prolific, it's not so shockingly bad that people are thrown back about it. So I think for me to answer your question, it would be it's not really like affecting our tourism product, if that makes sense. That's probably the best answer I can give you right now without doing a deeper dive. Magic and Jess, you're free to chime in. Jess, he asked about Texas and debris and whatnot.
So I think we do a pretty good job. There's so many cleanups, and also the city, at least here in Galveston, the city has the city workers who go and clean up the beaches. We have a lot of state parks. We have the Galveston Isles State Park, and so there's state park employees who help keep that clean. I think a lot of people who like using the beaches on a regular basis are responsible. I'll see the kids running down the beach to go pick up their piece of trash that blew away. But I would very politely like to turn his question around and say sometimes the tourism has a negative effect. So whenever I would do sea turtle patrol, I had the joy of going out the day after Memorial Day, and the amount of trash on the beach was startling. Especially, I'm on a ATV and traveling long distance down the beach to look for sea turtle tracks, and the number of like broken the like sun canopies and that type of thing, and you could tell like a lot of people try to the ones that broke because the sun canopies, they only work so well, and sometimes they collapse or fold or get beat up, and that we have winds pick up sometimes. But the amount of trash that you see, and there's like a lot of specific brands that you'll see, at least here. I don't know if that's a worldwide thing, but you'll see specific brands of products that are littered throughout, and you'll see a lot of people try to shove it up by the trash cans even if they're full, maybe because it was a popular weekend like Memorial Day weekend, like Labor Day weekend, but then there's the ones where it wasn't even attempted. It's just their stuff is just abandoned. So it's their broken canopy, their broken cooler, their beer cans, and you see it, and it's one of those, those aren't the locals who go to the beach every weekend. Those are the people who came in just for that particular holiday weekend and then left all of the stuff. So here, obviously our tourism is a little bit different than yours because we all have a lot of land-based tourism. So people will drive in, come see the beach, and then go home. And yeah, it's one of those. So if you choose to be a tourist and go to an area because you enjoy the natural resources of that area and you don't have that where you live, please try to keep in mind and be respectful of that. You came because it was something that was beautiful and that you wanted to see and you wanted to be there. But whenever you leave, try to leave it that way too.
100%. I mean,
my 2 cents.
No, super valuable. I mean, shout out to our government and our parks department and works and engineering and all those guys that will deploy their tractors and rake the beaches of any debris that might have washed up, so that residents and visitors will go to our popular beaches where tractors can get to, because not all of them are accessible for tractors, and rake the beaches so that in the mornings it's nice and clean. And that's our parks department. Shout out to you guys. So yeah, like Horseshoe Bay, Jess, that will take you to right away. John Smith's Bay is another popular one, Shelley Bay. But then, so those are accessible by tractor. But then there's Church Bay on our south shore where it's down a cliff. So you ain't getting a tractor down there. It's a matter of having volunteers or those that care going down and pick up the debris once it accumulates. Yeah, we will get tourists occasionally. I'd find where the attitude of someone will pick it up. Let me leave my trash. It's give someone something to do. It's it's someone's job to clean up after me. So I'll just leave all my bottles on my broken up pop-up tent on the side. We get that as well. So it's not like we're immune to the actions of our visitors to our shores. I think now people are more switched on, and I think we'll call guys out, like and it's as you get more locals switched on, whether they're divers or not. Certainly, I know Magic and we're at a beach chilling with our families, and we see a guy with like a 5-foot spear, going right offshore. We're like, hey,
What you doing, buddy?
yeah, what are you doing? Yeah. I came. I'm just visiting. I'm going to go spur some grouper or whatever. We're like, hey, nah, boss. Nah, boss. Nope. You can't visit here and do that. So what we'd find is even the ocean heroes among us, like we'd be free diving at night or whatever for lobsters during the season or lionfish, and numerous times, Magic and Jess, like I've come back to shore and the police are there, especially at night, because people think there's like aliens in the water, because they'll see us coming out of the water and we're buddies, so we're close, we're clustered, and the lights are kind of shining around, and they're like, oh my god, like there's monsters. And then people were calling cops. Like, it's happened so many times. It's become a thing. It's so crazy because I think, and this was early on in my diving. It hasn't happened lately, but I think more people, and correct me if I'm wrong, are just more switched on and will call people out. We can't have ocean heroes everywhere just yet. We're working on it, I think. But I certainly won't just let that happen. And we have events, big events, especially during the spring, summer, and fall, where we'll get locals and visitors alike that will have that attitude of someone else will pick it up. Or what is it? It's the Christmas celebration at Elbow, Magic, where the day so Boxing Day, Keep Bermuda Beautiful will have this big like event to clean up from the day before. And so some people would say, well, I'm switched on, so I'll go and enjoy myself, but make sure my group take their trash at least to the bin, and then others will shove their glass bottles in the sand to give the volunteers that come the next day something to do. It's a lot. I got some questions though, so this is pretty dope. But I want to say to our viewership on live or on the replay, check out Jessica Lee at Diving with Jess, and check out Magic at DJ Magio 441 on social. Check them out, give them a like, give them a follow. We have a question, got two questions. I got something from Norman, who's locked in still. Appreciate your viewership, brother. He says, finally, is there any consideration to review the possibility of supporting the ocean cleanup project or similar initiative for ocean debris removal in both Bermuda and Texas? Thanks. What I would say is Buoyant Slat is doing wonderful work with the machines that'll sit in a river and sift debris out of the ocean. I think, and I haven't been following his work lately, but I think I love the automation of it, having the machine do that lifting. In Bermuda, Norman, we've got something on a much smaller scale. We've got these sea bins. They're essentially skimmers that are in a couple of the marinas around Hamilton Harbor, and they will just skim and sift. And I think the thing with the skimmers is they get organic and plastic waste, and it's only things that float. So as you empty these out every other day or so, you'd find, you're separating the organic from the non-organic. But then it's also important for, the viewership to recognize that not all debris floats. So if I drop something in that goes plop to the bottom of the ocean, these skimmers, whether it's the ocean cleanup skimmers or these small sea bins that are in the base, it's just not going to get it. That's why we need more divers like you and your family in the water to dive to the bottom and pick up the trash. I guess in Texas, in rivers, it may make sense to have one of those larger, more industrial size skimmers to do some of that heavy lifting. Jess, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the actual design, so I can't speak to that. I did have heard about seafood. I'm excited that I didn't know that you guys had some. We're actually thinking about bringing some into Texas, in my area. So hopefully that happens. I'll let you guys know if it does. But so that's an exciting initiative that some people I know are working on right now. So, but yeah, you have to be so careful though. Yeah, I just have to see the design. You have to be careful whenever you're talking about putting things in, especially like around the mouth of a river. Um,
I see where you're going. How do you know what's alive and what's trash? And I mean, separating like live organic critters, right?
mhm.
Yeah, and I don't know how the sea bin manages, separating a shrimp from a piece of plastic, from a leaf, from a straw.
And
I don't know.
I think it has to do with like the velocity of like the water going in. So if it's something that has the ability to swim, I think that it's not such a strong force that it can't. And we have these conversations. I can nerd out about this part whenever it comes to whenever you're towing nets. Well, how do you not catch? If you have a really small, fine net and you're trying to get ichthyoplankton, how do you not catch bigger things? Well, the larger fish that have the ability to swim can swim away from that. And so same thing with some of these, as long as the force isn't too strong, as long as something can, if it starts getting kind of pulled, it can swim away.
I
So that's
understand.
probably how as long as, it's not like some like crazy cyclone of suction, but yeah, so that's probably, and I think the good thing is that since they do have to be checked on such a regular basis, because they only have so much volume that they can hold the smaller ones. That way, if something did get sucked in that wasn't supposed to, hopefully you could get there in time. But it'll be really interesting. I don't know if the people who manage the ones that are in your area, if they've found anything alive in there. But
I would like to get more information about that and share that with you and our viewership in the near future. What I do know as a fact, because I know there's one at Dinghy Club, is that it does need more attention than they thought it would.
oh, that's good.
And then it needed electricity as well, and maintenance. So I think it was great. We had the sponsorship from a local bank. We had kids involved to do the citizen science side of things. But one time I did check, it was out of the water for a while, and that was because it needed maintenance. And then it just responsibility kind of got tossed around a little bit. But and that happens. I do have another question, which is really prudent because it speaks to something that's coming up here in Bermuda, Jess, where we are banning single-use plastics. And Natalia asks, do we think that the magic's laughing? Wonderful to have you on the live, Natalia. Hello, hello. Do you think the regulations on single-use plastic will help decrease the amount of debris found in the oceans? Magic, why don't you take a swing at that one real quick?
I think it will, actually. I think it's definitely a move in the right direction, something that's probably a bit overdue to basically put talk into action. Like we've been talking a lot about reducing our carbon footprint, keep Bermuda beautiful, and we do play play our part very well with that. But this reducing the increasing the regulations on single-use plastic, this sort of gives us a bigger nudge into the right direction. I think. I think it's a good move. I'm definitely in support of that.
Me too. And I'll be honest, I haven't read the full proposal of recommendations just yet. I'm still looking at all kind of international papers. There's all kind of different things floating around that speaks to protecting the ocean. And it's not a new thing. It's something I think we've been trying to push through with the minister and the government for a while. I think that, to your point, and I agree, figuring out how to reduce single-use plastics, taking as many of those as we can out of our waste stream is important. But what I want to let the viewership know is that for me, and based on the work I do and what I know, it's really about taking a holistic look at the entire waste stream and looking at everything. And I don't want to play devil's advocate, but I know, when we saw the lady pulling the straw out of the turtle, it caused the whole, everyone hates straws push. But then when you do auditing of waste in the stream, and then Jess, you mentioned doing brand audits. I know Five Gyres, and I'm still an ambassador for Five Gyres. When you kind of look and you're like, okay, well, are straws really enemy number one, or is it it was sensationalized because the straw was up this turtle's nose? It's a lot to be said about it, and it depends, what side you're on. At the end of the day, I advocate for clean oceans, and goodness, we could talk about sewage, we could talk about incineration, we can talk about boats that sink full of fuel and oil and left to sit on the rocks for ages. Jess, goodness, it popped into my head, but it's a can of worms. But the Deepwater Horizon, whatever that was, you got refineries all around you, right? So can of worms, and we don't have to really open that up right now. You can, but
and the other thing is, and again, it's important because it's used in so many things, but we don't just have oil refiners. We also we're one of the biggest petrochemical industries as well. Yes. So the plastics, the little baby pellets of plastic, I think they're called nurdles.
The nurdles.
They are made here, and so you have like the little bitty tiny plastics before they get melted down and turned into whatever the final product is. And so if those get released by accident, if there's a spill or if it's on a shipping container and something happens to that vessel, that's another thing. So you have all of this plastic that hasn't even been used yet, hasn't even been turned into its final product that is now in the environment versus being utilized. And like you said, I think it's important to realize, not to be hypocrites and say, well, all oil is bad. It's like, well, how are you going to get to work? All plastic is bad. Well, it's saved a lot of lives in the medical industry. So I think we have to be very careful that we're never all or nothing whenever it comes to these types of issues, because there are, very good things that have come out of it, like a lot more safety in the medical field whenever it comes
to
is clean plastic. Sure. But straws, and like you said, straws is such an easy one because of that. And I do think it's important to think about not necessarily like, oh, straws are the worst thing, but that is such an easy thing to stop using. It's not like they're the number one, pollution, but it's such a simple thing that we just do automatically. But it's so easy to cut out of your life. It's so easy to say like, no, I don't need a straw. It's so easy to say, or to use a different type of straw, or to just drink out of a cup.
I know. Magic. It's so much to discuss, and that's why I'm glad we dedicated this to trash, and I'm happy to talk more about it. I know we've been an hour and 10 minutes into the stream, and I don't want to keep you guys too late. But I'd love to switch gears a little bit and just talk about Aware Week. And before I do that, I'd love to run a quick clip. Here we go. Local action, global impact. I don't have any event to announce in Bermuda that I'm a part of just yet, except for the last Sunday of the month. I will be having a beach or shore cleanup as part of the Bermuda Ocean Prosperity Program's effort to do these cleanups at least once a month. We're going to wrap them up to two, I think. But in terms of specific diver activity to get scuba divers in the water and on the bottom in onion sacks, I'm still working on that. Jess, what do you have going on for Aware Week in Texas?
I'm so excited. So
There
obviously
we go.
all across Texas, there's a lot of different dive shops and a lot of different programs. So depending what area you're in, you can look and you can use the PADI event locator, the conservation event locator to find different events going on in your area. But Diving with Jess is having a lot of really fun events. So we're participating in a beach cleanup. We're going to be doing an eco-focused advanced class. We're going to be doing a bunch of different aware specialties. So it's I'm really excited about this Aware Week. We have a whole bunch of fun things in the works, so it's going to be great. And what's super fun is the beach cleanup is going to be at the same time or in conjunction with this Texas Adopt a Beach, which happens every year. And then also it is I wrote it down so I don't say it wrong, the International Coastal Cleanup Day. So that is on the 18th is going to be the kickoff to Aware Week and also the kickoff to the events with Diving with Jess. It's going to be that beach cleanup down in Galveston.
Magic, man. We need to take a trip. My goodness, it'd be great to get over there and connect up. I typically Keep Bermuda Beautiful runs the ICC event, and that rallies the entire community to get to a bay or beach or shoreline to pick up trash and take pictures and get all the data into the database for ICC. I don't know what's happening with that. I tried to get that information before going live. But real quick, Jess, are any of the courses that you're going to offer, are they available only in Texas in a physical capacity, or is there something that anyone anywhere in the world can participate in with you?
Yeah, so one of the events, so on Thursday, I'm going to be doing an aware specialty and the coral reef conservation specialty duo course. And so that is going to be on Thursday, the 23rd, and that is going to be via Zoom. So it doesn't matter where you are.
That's dope. Please follow Diving with Jess all across social media. When you sign up, tell her that Weldon sent you, and we'll make sure that you get something very, very special wherever you are in the world. So that's a little surprise. We'll work on that. And yeah, I'm just really, really excited about this time of year. It brings divers together. Again, we've said it a few times already. Just brings divers together to dive with a purpose. If you've seen all the wrecks and reef around where you are and you're kind of bored of that for whatever reason, and I don't have a problem with that anymore. I think every dive, no matter how many times you've been to the site, you never really know what you're going to see. Yeah, some of the rocks are still going to be there, and the wreck is hopefully still going to be there. But it's about like you never know what life you're going to see, and then what matters is also the company that you're with, and that's what I really love. For those of you that know what I've been doing for the last little while with the experiences, I often take people back to the same beach and bay, and the company is what matters the most. And I'm being part of having people, whether they're locals or visitors, putting eyes on cool little critters or like 3-foot parrotfish, because we protect parrotfish here. Their eyes go wide and they're just blown away and they're getting excited. And that just feeds me. And my personality, I reflect. So if you'll come at me with good energy, I reflect that good energy, and then it's just a good vibe. And then we'll go to the bar at Tobacco Bay and, enjoy a swizzle or two. Shout out to Danny and the gang down there. And yeah, it's always a really, really good time. Again, I start these lives late at night. I don't know why it's a late live show, because it's like almost it's almost 15 after the hour of 11 o'clock p.m. here in Bermuda. So I don't want to keep you guys too late. But any last words, Magic and Jess, for our viewership who may be on the live or watching this on the replay in terms of our topic and diving for debris?
Yeah, and it's kind of the question that you asked earlier. It's just, why do you want to get into something like this, and what encourages you to do that? And it's one of those, it's not I'm bored with diving, or it might be, but it's just one of those, you're just always adding. So you go from open water, and then you can start taking the aware conservation specialties, and you can get into fish identification, and then go into, there's a lot of citizen science where you can do fish surveys wherever in the world that you're diving. And I'm a huge fish nerd, so that appeals to me. It might not appeal to you. But there's the dive against debris, there's the shark conservation, there's a coral reef conservation, there's all these different things, and it's not necessarily a either or. It's one of those, depending on where you're at and what you're going to be seeing. If I'm diving in a lake, and I'm probably not going to do a fish ID survey. But if I'm out in Bermuda and I haven't been there, and I'm super excited because I don't know what fish I'm going to see, and some of them are going to be like what I see back home, and some of them are going to be different. You bet I'm going to be out there with my little clipboard, and then I can submit that data, which is super cool too. So there's that little benefit of, hey, I'm doing good while also having fun. But yeah, it's just all these different fun things that you can just add on, and then you can pick and choose when you go diving which one of those. And it could be depending on what your buddy wants to do too. So you dive with different people, and one of them might be really into photography, and one of them might really be into picking up trash. So you can kind of cater that to if you have all these skills, you're never going to get tired of it. It's going to keep you going back. You're going to be participating in these events. Whenever Weldon has a really cool underwater cleanup, you're like, oh man, I took that specialty, I really like it. Yeah, I'm going to go out this weekend. I was going to do something boring that's not scoop diving this weekend, but now I'm going to go diving this weekend. So it just keeps you diving. The more you learn, the more things you have to do. So it gets you back in the water. So
Magic.
Yeah, everybody who decides to dive, decides to become a certified scuba diver, there was something that made them want to do that in the first place, whether it be they just want to explore the underwater world because the above water world is just not enough and they want to see more. Whether it be they want to join the fight against the invasive lionfish, whether it be picking up marine debris. Everybody has something that inspires them to actually take that step to become a diver. And when I first started, what my inspiration was actually, well, I don't think I've ever told you this, but I watched a lot of your lionfish hunting videos on Facebook prior to becoming a diver, and that had me like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to do this.
Oh, wow.
And you were actually 31st time I caught my first lionfish. You remember that?
I do. I have it on video.
I went crazy that day.
But, I wish I could cue that up because I don't delete anything. So I still have all that content.
Yeah. Well, we could say it for another night or whenever.
Sure.
But,
that's dope. I remember.
Yeah,
he did a dance and was dancing and yelling, and I'm like, yay!
Yep, all of that underwater, wasting all of this air. But,
I was
excited. I was excited. I had been wanting to do that for so long, and I finally got to do it. But
nice,
yeah, like I was saying, everybody has a purpose, and what I wanted to do, my overall goal was I want to have these big marine encounters with sharks, with whale sharks, with different things. Picking up marine debris was never really an idea of mine until I found out, yeah, that's actually a thing. People really do that. And I became involved in any opportunity that I came across where I could help out fighting this cause. And you know what? You may think that, the little bit that you're doing is just a little bit. It's not going to make an impact, but every little bit helps. Like, just... Keep going.
I couldn't have said it any better, Magic. Thank you so much for all of those words. And yeah, it can be very, you start to question your effort sometimes, right? Yeah. Like, is what I have in this onion sack, does it make a difference? Is culling that one lionfish off the reef, does that make a difference? And it does. Every little bit definitely counts. And what I want to interject into that as well is, and this kind of goes to your point, Magic. Like in my exploration, I was very motivated, especially early on, to really produce as much content as I could at the time for Facebook. And right now, just a few $100s can get an action camera in your hands, and you're able to get underwater and shoot in Ultra HD and publish that content all across social media on your own. So, it's easier now than ever before to get into underwater photography, underwater cinematography, all of that. It's just so much more accessible. I remember, Magic, when I started out, I had the Canon and the housing, and 1080p was the highest resolution around, and Now you can get wait till the GoPro Hero 10 is released later, or get the Insta 360, or even put your phone in a case and capture all this beautiful life. Like it's hard, honestly, for the adults on the live, on the replay. Like, it's a lot going on, man, when you get out here, and bills and mortgage and family, and
Yeah.
diving, whatever discipline it is such a wonderful escape. Not to say our lives, we want to escape from our lives, but when we're in the ocean, we're focusing on depth, body, air. You know what I mean? And then taking it all in, and you never really know what you're going to find when you shine your torch into that cavern, or go around the corner of that reef, or you got a hole, is a hot spot for lionfish. You don't know how many you're going to find in there. You don't know how your body's going to react to seeing something awesome, or what is the eel in the engine room of the Hermes still. Like, it's so much unknown, and it's such a beautiful place, especially when you've got the clear visibility, and wherever you are in the world, if you've got pelagics. My friend was somewhere recently, and she was just scuba diving, a regular dive, and there was mantas and dolphins, and I'm just like, what? What are you? What's going on? Like,
Right.
And granted, the diving in Bermuda is dope, but to have a manta and dolphin encounter in the same dive is not
Process.
happening around here. Um, but certainly, the ocean is worth protecting. It is vast, one big blue pearl. This planet that we're on, and it's definitely our life support system. It provides so much for us, and it's certainly worth protecting. And debris is one of the things that humans are created, that's out there, that's not very good for the ocean, or the critters that live within. So we do what we do. We take all our investments of time and money and training and gear, and yeah, we get out there and we dive with a purpose. We dive against debris. Where Week is coming up. Jess has a bunch of dope things going on in Texas. Magic, we'll figure out something. We'll do
Let's
something
do
cool.
it.
Watch this space. Yeah, hit my site, weldonwade.com/hello. I'll put links to all Jess's stuff there, all the stuff that's going on locally in Bermuda. And I know my friend Lee in Jamaica has got something cool going on down there too. So I'm going to just create a portal and just aggregate everything I know that's going on. Plus, Patty has a map. Ocean Conservancy has a map. There's maps, so you can see what's going on all across the region, and in fact the world. So get out there, get involved, and you don't have to be a diver. Divers, it's nice when the divers dive for debris and come back and there's someone else that's sorting it. The divers can actually decompress, de-kit. So yeah, there's always help needed by those that don't dive, just helping out with helping the dive teams, and helping sort things out. So Magic, Jess, episode 6. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. You guys are beautiful. Let's keep doing what we're doing, and just get out there. Like, and to viewership live or on the replay, I appreciate you wholeheartedly. Watch this space for changes happening with the show. Anything you'd like us to talk about, we'll jump on and talk about it. And yeah, that's how we do it around here, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on tonight. I've been looking forward to this actually.
It's a pleasure. Now, certainly when we talk about the lionfish stuff, we'll have everybody back on deck. I'll bring a few more hosts on, but yeah, Magic Man, I'm gonna find that video.
Yes.
I do have it. We were out of Grotto, and
Yeah.
yeah, that was a really dope moment.
Yeah, it was fun. Funny actually. It's my first time diving with you that time. I remember cheering up that day. I got to the dive shop before you did, and they said to me, "Oh yeah, Velda's gonna be joining us later today." I was like, "Oh really? I've been wanting to dive with him for so long. Now finally it's gonna happen." And
Oh
you
my
just so
turn.
happened to be there, had the camera out and everything when I was getting ballistic underwater.
That was an amazing moment, man. I'm
It
happy
was at
we
the
were able to
Crystal
share that.
Ball
Yeah,
dive
it was
rack.
at the Crystal Ball. That was an amazing dive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really nice.
yeah, no doubt. Norman, thank you so much for your viewership, man. Thank you so much. It's great, man. Family, it is a wrap. Thanks again. Shout out to TBI, who are lead sponsor of all this stuff. And you know how it goes. cue the video. Good night.
Take care, everybody.
Take care. So I got a message on social media letting me know that there was some debris here at Admiralty Park Beach. So I stood up an event on Facebook, invited a bunch of friends to meet me here after work, and we dove for debris. I mean, the ocean connects us all. To me, it's one big blue ocean. Ultimately, if I throw a piece of trash or a piece of trash ends up in the ocean, it could float anywhere. And in fact, most of the debris that washes up in Bermuda is long-range foreign trash that has come from anywhere as far as West Africa or even Japan. Everything just swirls around and ends up on our shores. So we're all connected, whether we recognize it or not. Documenting all the work that we do is very, very important. And taking photographs and shooting video and even going live during these exercises is such a phenomenal thing because it opens up to the world the effort that we're doing. And in fact, most of the time we catalog the debris that we catch and put that into an online database. And just TBI facilitates all of that, whether it's going live on site, taking photographs and creating an album on Facebook, or posting all of our photographs to Instagram. It's just valuable, and having the internet opens up what we're doing to the world. My name is Weldon Wade. I'm a diver, educator, and advocate for ocean sustainability. Wow. This is normally where I do the after show, and I'm the only one left behind. But you guys don't want to go, so I don't know what's going on. But I'm gonna get to bed. Yeah, you guys want to go? What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about something else?
What about dive trips? Like taking trips away from him.
I got a few
I don't
minutes.
know if that's a topic that you have for a future show.
No, I got a few minutes. I definitely agree with diving wherever you can. Some of my most memorable experiences have been, off Bermuda. Certainly, it depends on what you want to see. Like bunch of divers we know, like they went to Cayman and did a bunch of diving, and the cenotes in Mexico and Cozumel and stuff. But yeah, we can have a whole expo, on having divers talk about their diving and stuff. But it's such a, I mean, even just the Caribbean magic, just we've got the healthiest reef in the region up here, but we don't have the diversity of hard and soft corals. So as soon as you go like off the Grill in Jamaica or Cayman or Bahamas, you're surrounded by different species of shark and all these big barrel sponges and St. Croix, the Frederickstead Pier, like trumpet fish bigger than my arm. And trumpet fish is my favorite fish now. After seeing these massive, I didn't even know they could get that big. Like Jess, here they're like that. And I just think it certainly adds to the bottom line of this expenditure of the hobby. But because I was looking at going to Utila to do some Honduras, Roatan, or wherever.
Yes, I thought I've heard of that before.
To do some training. Jess, I was thinking of finally finishing my DM and finally going pro and doing some stuff over there. But as soon as I got into it, I was like, why don't I just go and hang out with Jess for 2 weeks and knock it all out down Texas? Like, why am I going all the way over there?
Better. I'll go to Honduras with you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. I got, again, like footy techies that are hanging around or watching the replay. Like I have a 4-bay NAS unit that's just got all the content that I've ever shot for the last like 12 years. It's quite emotional going through that magic. Some pictures of all, past relationships and whatnot on there that I'd rather not keep, but I don't delete anything. So yeah, going quite a ways, but it's really, really great to have all the memories of all the different dive trips. Cozumel's been the spot I go to the most. I went there, I think 4 times in 1 year. I just kept going back. All my vacation, all my disposable income was diving. So Cozumel, just value for money, ultimately.
That's it.
Yeah, Bahamas has been my latest hotspot. But Jess, where have you been around the region?
We've got a little map back here.
Oh, snap.
all the blue. You can't see the clear ones. All the clear ones are where I want to go, and all of the blue and green ones are places I've been. So we'll have to get a close.
That is inspirational.
There's
I want to do something like that.
You guys better watch out. There's a clear magnet on Bermuda now, so you guys are on watch now. But yeah, I've been
whenever you're ready.
I've dove in throughout the Caribbean, so Bahamas, Cayman, Bonaire, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, Martinique, and then Mexico. Both in the like Playa del Carmen. Actually, I haven't been to. I've been to Cozumel, but I haven't dove in Cozumel. But I have got to dive in the Playa del Carmen, Akumal area. I really love Akumal.
Yeah,
I love it. And then on the other side, in Cabo, in Mexico, and then Hawaii, Philippines, Florida, Gulf of Mexico. Can't forget Gulf of Mexico. Flower Garden Banks, my favorite, my home reef. It's a little bit further away than yours is from you guys, but it's still my home reef for me.
I mean, how do we
further away in Texas? So it's fine. It's fine.
I mean, how do we like tackle all of that? You went down a really long list. Yeah, I would have to sort of like craft that out and just have everything. Let me see. How would I do that? Dang it. Where were those places again?
Send you a list.
Yeah. We'll get that. We'll get that together. I'm gonna go Jessica's spots. Yeah, I'll figure out how to do the overlays and make it real fancy. But it'd be great to get like just do like a TED talk covering 18 minutes in a condensed version of all the spots. Because I mean. Man. I got some spots, not as many of those. Hawaii, oh my goodness, and just speak to like the things that come first to your mind about what made that experience so dope. Especially when you have diving destinations where we've all been. Magic, have you done much diving off of the island?
Outside of Bermuda, I've only been to 3 places. I've been to Bahamas, St. Martin, and Cayman, of course. And
nice.
How many times have you been to Cayman, Belden?
Cayman? Did you go with Paul and them?
I remember Paul and Giovanni one year.
Yes.
I asked because you're pretty popular down there. We went down there. We mentioned we're from Bermuda. They're like, "Oh, you must know Belden."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That's my boy.
I've only been down there once, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, I just went down there once. I got to know Joe and the owners of Dive Tech, and hung out with Tony. Shout out to Tony Land and Joe and Marie. So I went down there and I stayed with Marie and her husband, Chris. Marie was she is a diving instructor still, but she was at Blue Water for years. She did go to Dive Bermuda for a while. Then she moved to Cayman, and I celebrated her birthday with her that week. While she was living, her and Chris having relocated down there to work. And then they came to Bermuda for a while, and now I think Marie's back in the UK. But I had a wonderful time at Dive Tech. I did my first rebreather dive on an inspiration down there. I got probably 3 feet away from the largest eagle ray I've ever seen. And since you're in closed circuit, you're not making any bubbles. So I was just sitting on the bottom like a big, human with all this kit, and just like breathing off of this loop. And yeah, man, just to see the thing like feasting through the sediment, and just kept coming closer and closer. And I'm like, OMG, like this is like a 7-foot eagle ray, like, and that was really, really cool. But shout out to my Cayman family. I need to get back down there. And yeah, shout out to Dive Tech. But you know what? I knew when you guys were on there. I mean, I follow you guys on social, and I was just like, wow. I was explaining this to some friends yesterday about how amazing diving is in Bermuda, but we have niched down our service offerings so much that when you go to other diving destinations, particularly Dive Tech, you're exposed to so much by way of rebreathers, nitrox, side mount, multiple boats in a shop, the big, just their facility they have outside, and the DPVs that you can rent. So Jess, Bermuda is actually very, we are the shipper capital of the Atlantic, but our dive shop offering is actually quite basic compared to what I just mentioned with Cayman. we don't get nitrox here. You don't see steel tanks. You don't see side mount. You certainly don't see CCR. So I was just like, wow, when Magic, Paul, and Giovanni get back, I don't really even know if you guys are gonna want to dive here anymore. And I say that with all due respect to my local dive shop owners, operators, crew, management, and everything. It is what it is. But I know when I go to Mexico, when I led groups, when I was with BSAC, I took a whole group down there. We did that 3 times. We come back here and like not dive for a month because you're so full, right? You're just emotionally full. Where you've done your first dive with a steel 100. Your next dive is with you're just super exposed, and then you're out early. Your surface interval. You've got the stern to the beach. Get off, have lunch, have some coconut shrimp, and then do your second dive. You get back, take a nap, circle your kit, your camera gear and stuff. Get up, do a house dive because you're right on the oceanfront resort. You do a house dive, unlimited house dives. You do that. You got seahorses, you got turtles, you got little rays and stuff. So you're working on your macro, dialing in your strobes and stuff, licking your dome port and whatever. And then, and then you're up at 6 a.m. the next day. You got, the ladies cooking you breakfast, the coffee's going. And yeah, you're on the dive boat right at the dock, right at your resort to go to Devil's Throat or Palancar Reef. You want to be first on those sites because there's so many dive shops on that west coast. You want to get there first. Because sometimes you'll pop up from a dive and there's like 6 dive boats on the site. And you're like, am I at the right boat? Like, oh no, especially if you get separated from your group, forget it. Like, I've had 3 groups like intermix on one wreck. And you're like, oh man, okay, Jess was my buddy. She had on the fins with Jess written on there, but I can't find a diver with Jess written on the fins. Okay.
Look for the shark fin. You gotta look for the shark fin on the fins.
Some.
That's how you know what's up.
Some. So yeah, I'd love to have time dedicated for us to share these diving destination experiences, and we can have part of it just dedicated to all the dope, positive, super amazing stuff, and yeah, just talk about that. I don't think I have any like negative experiences at all. I just think every island has its own little flavor, whether it's again Jamaica, Cayman, Cozumel, Gibraltar, Malta, Vermont. All the places I've been certainly have their own little sauce, their own little seasoning. And then the friendships that you make, the lifelong friendship.
Can't beat that. Can't beat it.
Man, hey you guys, I went on a dive, Cayman. You show up as a solo diver, you never really know what you're gonna get by way of a buddy. They buddied me up. I heard guys talking like, yeah, this guy's coming out. He's an older guy. Like, we gotta, take care of him, watch out for him. Talking positively, but letting us know that he is he's an elder in the diving community. Magic. This guy was 86 years old, and my buddy. And I was almost tearing up because he was the same age as my grandfather would have been had he not passed away in '83. Yeah. So I was just like, this is so cool. Like, and the guy had switched over to side mount because he told me he had some back trouble. So you got this guy, as old as my grandfather would have been, off the back of the boat. Guy passes down his tank, clip. It was wrong. I'm like, it was such like it was like an honor. And I was like, if my grandfather was alive, this is, I'd have been there with my grandfather. Like, and he was my buddy for 2 days straight. And I was like, I just think it really opened up the fact that it's an inclusive thing, man. And I have the same feeling when I'm diving with kids. I was in the water with, I think, a 13-year-old one time, and I was just looking at him like, I was like, wow, and to see him kidding up and his zipping down his clips and chest clip and had his necklace. I'm like, huh? Who told you all this? Like, had the little hoods with the angle on there and Apex rags and stuff. Like, who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Because that's not rental. Your girl is better than mine, And it's like, doing all this stuff, had his sheer water, and I was like, wow, this is so nice, man. But yeah, man, we guys, Jess, like certainly Magic and I would love to hear about your global travels.
Yeah,
And
I'd
Magic, man, hey,
love to talk about it.
Magic, I love to like say Martin. Certainly your Cayman experience. I know I rambled on like
Sure.
Cayman, and we could talk about Cayman all day, man. It's just different. It's just so
First international dive trip was to Cayman. That's like what set the pace for everything else was Cayman. Because when we went there, it was just like diving all morning, diving all afternoon. It was just I just thought that's how it was. I was like, whenever I went diving with people who were more relaxed, I was like, oh, you can dive just once in a day. You don't just like shove 4 dives in and just eat, sleep, dive. Like I thought that's what you do. that was what was normal to me from a very young age. So I was like, oh, you guys don't do that.
man.
I had to readjust. It's good. Both are good. Both are good. It's nice to have the relaxing dive trips too. But Cayman was fantastic for sure, for sure. And as someone who was a kid who's gotten paired up with a random adult as a diver, we appreciate whenever you have someone who respects you as a dive buddy, especially when you're like, I don't know who you are, stranger. Let's go diving.
Man, you just never really know. And even if you are with a partner that knows how to dive, you never know what your group, is gonna look like. Certainly somebody you're gonna have a guide or a dive instructor or dive master you don't know that's with you if it's just the three of you, or yeah, you're with a bigger group. So you don't know who's gonna silt out the swim through, or who's gonna run out of air first, or who's gonna lose a fin, or whose weight belt's gonna fall off when you're climbing up the ladder at the end of the dive. Yeah, I got some gnarly stories, but certainly Cayman. I remember, yeah, man, we rented those Tusa Sav 7 Evo DPVs, the ones where you can either hold on or you can put it between your legs, so it pushes you. So it's either a hold and pull or through your legs and push. And oh, we had such a blast with the DPVs, but we were going so fast, like you couldn't like, you're just buzzing over the reef. And I know there's probably 2 of them on the island. I've seen some free divers using DPVs lately to kind of do shore diving and just cover ground to get to the reef quick. But yeah, the nitrox, the DPVs, the Guardian of the Reef sculpture that's really there and dope. Just go right from shore, hit the Guardian, and hang a left, hang a right. Yeah, that's what I name my organization Guardians of the Reef. It's after that sculpture right off Dive Tech. So that was my inspiration. I took a selfie with the Guardian and I was like, that would be a cool name. And you Google it and you're like, Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, I know it's Groot and the raccoon and all that. It's similar, but it's different. But yeah, that was my inspiration for that. So Magic, man, we got to get back out there, man. I mean, a trip would be really nice. I'm really feeling, yeah, just like I need to get out there and do some more exploring. I love going to new places, but my friend Almendra is in Cozumel still. Be great to see her again, guys. It's the relationships too. For me, it's like, yeah, me getting to Texas is a lot more likely now because of my connection with Jess, and my connection to Cozumel is through Almendra, and yeah, man, that's what it's all about. It's amazing how similar to salsa, similar, but different. Family. Let's wrap it up because you guys.
All right.
Yeah, let's keep it going.
Not for real. Could talk about this all night, really.
I know, and that's the joy of this is being able to share this knowledge and experience and learn from each other, and then be able to have this knowledge available for other people to learn from as well. It's so much less expensive learning from other people's mistakes than learning it on your own. And gear, I mentioned to Jess, like a nice gear conversation would be good. Because so many people start off and invest in kit that's just not good, and then they have to re-up, and then they're like, yeah, this is too expensive, let me abort. So I want to start to put together some lists of like, reasons why people might fall out of diving and stop exploring, and it's all kinds of different reasons, but it's good to address those little elephants in the room, if you will. Because I mean, I've switched passions a couple of times in my lifetime, and it's always been for, when the net of it is usually one or two specific reasons. But then we stick with things for reasons as well. So yeah, man, it's a wonderful journey, this whole thing, and it's great how we're connecting through this sport. It's great, man. Very exciting. And just do it while you can,
For sure.
Do it while you can. Ah, pleasure, you guys.
It has been a pleasure, Weldon. Thank you so much, man. Really
Miss
appreciate
you, man.
this.
Appreciate you.
Too, man.
Miss
It's
you.
been too long.
Yeah, Jess is probably laughing. She's like, "You guys on a 21 square mile island, and you're talking about like you never see each
I
other."
know, right? Seeing stuff like that puts us to shame.
To work every day.
What? Yeah, Magic is probably like
One
more
way.
than 10 miles away from my house. But hey, it's all good. It's funny how as small as Bermuda is, yeah, you tend to just have your glide path and home and work and groceries and worship and whatever, and yeah, you can go a long time without seeing somebody. It's amazing how that works out.
Yeah.
Well, we'll fix that whenever I come there to visit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go make the round and see everybody.
Yup.
And I haven't forgotten the dancing. You guys aren't gonna make me forget that we're going dancing as well. So
yes, well, we got DJ is sorted.
yeah, we have their DJ check.
Is right there.
Yep.
Yeah, man, it's cool. It's cool. Magic, give me a second. I was thinking, what was I thinking about? Yeah, man. I follow some salsa dancers, and I was watching some stuff, and I was like, wow, I really do miss it. Like, oh, barbershop last week, Steve. I bumped
Steve
into
Bean.
Steve. I ain't
Nice.
seen Steve in ages.
It's been a long time. I haven't seen him in a while either. Wow.
And we talked about the good old days. I think probably
Yeah.
when it was, we were just lamenting like wow, it's probably never gonna go back to that, but it was just an amazing time to be alive in the scene when in those early days. I think Steve was around in the Azure days. So Azure on the bass was before my time. When I got into it, Azure was shutting down.
Wow.
So, anyway, that's a whole nother life. Jess is like, show me some video, show me some moves. Like, let's talk and more like on 1 or 2. I miss those days, man.
True. Yeah. You go international, and yeah, it's the first thing you ask the person on 1 or 1 2.
On 1 or on 2.
Yeah, for
Jess.
the longest I was just on 1, but then I finally learned on 2, and yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Now, does Jess dance on 1 or 2?
Whoever's leading.
Oh,
That's a good answer. That's the best answer right there.
That's the best. Whatever they lead throws at her. Oh my dear.
In diving, I lead, and dancing, you lead. So I'm here. I'm go with the flow.
Nice.
Let's get this trip on the books. Stop talking about it. So it's gonna be a blast.
For sure.
Beautiful people. Have a wonderful night. Have a safe week. Magic and I are gonna deal with Hurricane Larry tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think things are gonna be okay. I'll go back to the Elbow Beach steps and see how the swell is making out. And
that video you posted.
yeah,
That's
it's pretty gnarly. When the weekend comes, you guys, please enjoy it. Celebrate life, as Travis used to say. Yeah.
Yes.
Celebrate life. Rest in peace to Giovanna Watson, who I thought of the other day, and then her birthday was 2 days. When I'm on my phone and I want to share something, G pops up, and I don't know what triggers it, but it always just sets me back, man. It's like she's as a favorite, and I didn't message G like that. And then like it happened, and I saw Steve. I talked about her, and then 2 days later was her birthday, which was just recently, which is just weird. Yeah, we lost a very amazing person not too long ago. Jess, Giovanna Watson. Shout out to G. Miss her terribly, 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 terribly. So yeah, celebrate life, live it, love it, and yeah. With that said, you guys.
All
All
right.
right.
You guys stay safe. All right.
You
Yeah,
as well, Jess. Great to finally meet you.
It's so nice to talk to you,
Likewise.
not just in the chat.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Making these connections is really nice. And yeah, if I'm going to spend any money to finish my dive master, I might as well do somebody that I know and adore. So let's sort that out. Take care, you
Have a good
guys.
night, guys.
Cheers.